All plants, fungi, and microbes exhibit metabolism, the sum total of chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. The metabolism definition होची कि प्रत्येक chemical reactions हम body रे होता प्रत्येक chemical reaction को हम metabolism कहबा तो एटा हम गोटे defining property ना नुहे हाँ गोटे defining property non-living objects exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reaction can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living or non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining property of living organism, without exception, isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are not living things but purely living reactions. तो सी कहे कि इनविट्रो रे जो सेल गुड़िक नहीं आम इनविट्रो फर्टिलाइजेंस करूँ इनविट्रो रिएक्शन करूँ से गुड़िक आइसोलेटेड हेल्ले से गुड़िक लिविंग रिएक्शन तो आम तो मेटाबॉलिज्म को आम गोटे लिविंग गोटे इंक्लूसिव डिफाइनिंग प्रॉपर्टी हिसाब से ना सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ द बॉडी इन ऑल द डिफाइनिंग फीचर ऑफ द लाइफ फॉर्म से सेल सृष्टि हवा सेल ब्रेक हवा एगुड़ा कौन ना गोटे लिविंग गोटे फीचर. तापर कौन देखिए परहैप्स द मोस्ट ऑब्वियस एंड टेक्निकली कॉम्प्लिकेटेड फीचर ऑफ लिविंग. तापर हम देखिए कॉन्शियसनेस कौन ना ability to sense the environment, ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to the environmental stimuli which could be physical, chemical or biological. तो एनवायरमेंट को सेंस करवा और एनवायरमेंट को रेस्पॉन्ड करवा एगुड़ा कौन ना कॉन्शियसनेस. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature. All organisms from prokaryotes to eukaryotes can sense and respond to the environmental cues. Photoperiod affects reproduction in synchronous breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms can handle chemicals entering their body. All the organisms, therefore, are aware of the surrounding. Human beings is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is has self consciousness. तो प्रत्येक ऑर्गेनिज्म कौन ना हमें देखिए कौन ना ऑल ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैंडल केमिकल्स एंटरिंग देयर बॉडी. ऑल द ऑर्गेनिजम्स देयरफॉर आवर फॉर सराउंडिंग्स. तो प्रत्येक ह्यूमन बींग्स सराउंडिंग्स को आवाज ही था तो से कौन एनवायरमेंट को सेंस कर पारती और कौन रेस्पॉन्स कर पारती. आमर सेंस ऑर्गन अच्छी न्यूरो सेंसरी ऑर्गन्स अच्छी जहाँद्वारा कि आम ब्रेन ब्रेन में थी नर्व सेंसरी ऑर्गन द्वारा आम कौन कर रिफ्लेक्स रिएक्शन गोटे हुए जहाँद्वारा आम कौन सडन रिएक्शन करूँ जहाँ भी होता है आम ब्रेन को सेटा जाए नर्व्स द्वारा है. When it comes to human beings, it is almost difficult to define the living state. We observe patients lying in coma in hospitals, usually supported by machines which replace heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self consciousness. तो आम से पेसेंट को कौन कहवा आम भी लिविंग बोली कहवा. लिविंग बोली कहवा किंतु बेले बेले से कौन ना कोमारू कौन नॉर्मल स्टेज को पड़े आसता ट्रीटमेंट पर. In higher classes, you will come to know that all the living phenomena are due to underlying interactions. Properties of cellular organisms are not present in molecular constituents of the organelle, but arise as a result of interaction among the molecular components comprising the organelle. तो सिमिलरली से कहे जो प्रत्येक जो बड़ बड़ रिएक्शन से जो छोट छोट तल रिएक्शन द्वारा ही आसता किसी गोटे सेल भितर रिएक्शन है कि कौन टिश्यू होता है टिश्यू भितर रिएक्शन है कौन ऑर्गन सिस्टम तापर फिर ऑर्गन होता है. Similarly, properties of cellular organisms are not present in the molecular constituents of the organelle, but arise as a result of interaction among the comprising the cell. This interaction result in emergent property at a higher level of organization. This phenomenon is true in the hierarchy of organizational complexity at all levels. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, evolving, self-regulating, interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli. तो लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म कौन ना से निजे ही रेप्लिकेशन करती आ कौन कैपेबल ऑफ रेस्पॉन्ड कर पारती एक्सटर्नल स्टिमुली को बायोलॉजी इज द हिस्ट्री ऑफ लाइफ ऑन अर्थ बायोलॉजी इज द स्टडी ऑफ इवोल्यूशन ऑफ लाइफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म ऑन अर्थ all the living organisms present past and future are linked to one another by sharing common genetic material but due to varying degrees तो प्रत्येक ऑर्गेनिज्म से यूनिसेलुलर हो मल्टीसेलुलर प्रोकैरियोटिक व यूकैरियोटिक से कौन है ना जेनेटिक मटेरियल समस्त भितर डीएनए और आरएनए ही थाए किंतु तार डिग्री भैरी करे तार शेप साइज तार प्रॉपर्टीज सब भैरी करता है तापर हम पढ़े डाइवर्सिटी इन द लिविंग वर्ल्ड इफ यू लुक अराउंड यू डाइवर्सिटी कौन ना डाइवर्सिटी तापर हम देखिए डाइवर्सिटी इन द लिविंग वर्ल्ड इफ यू लुक अराउंड यू विल सी लार्ज वेराइटी ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म आम विभिन्न स्थान में कौन विभिन्न प्रकार ऑर्गेनिज्म देखते हैं वी सी डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म इन आवर एनवायरनमेंट different types of organism in different geographical areas these are called they have relationship with the ecology and the environment this is called biodiversity three types of biodiversity are present that is genetic biodiversity species and ecological biodiversity genetic biology in genetic biology we found the number of the organism and in species biology the species are different types of species are found and they are of various types and in ecological biology the species that are adapted to different environment according to their their diversity and their capability they are adapted to different environment if you look around you will see a large variety of organisms be it potted plants insects birds your pets or other animals or plants there are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye but they are all around you if you were to increase the area that you make observation in the range and the variety of organisms that you would see will increase obviously if you were to visit a dense forest you would probably see a much greater number and kind of living organisms in it each different kind of organism animals or plants that you see represents a species the number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 तो सी कहे कि प्रत्येक एनिमल और प्लांट ऑर्गेनिज्म को आम कौन कह गोटे गोटे स्पेसीज दिस रिफर्स टू बायोडाइवर्सिटी और द नंबर ऑफ टाइप्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म प्रेजेंट ऑन अर्थ we should remember that as explore new areas and even old ones new organisms are continuously being identified as stated earlier there are millions of plants and animals in the world we know the plants and animals in our area by their local names the local names would vary from place to place even within a country probably you would recognize the confusion that you would be created if you did not find ways and mean to talk to each other as stated earlier there are millions of plants and animals in the world we know that plants and animals in our own area by their local names vary from places to places probably you would recognize the confusion that you would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer organism ସେଥିପାଇଁ କ'ଣ ନା biological nomenclature କରାଯାଇଛି hence there is a need to standardize the name of living organism such as a particular organism is known by same name all over the world the process is called nomenclature obviously nomenclature or naming is only possible when organism is described clearly correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to and we know correctly to what दिस इज कॉल्ड आइडेंटिफिकेशन तो प्रत्येक ऑर्गेनिज्म भितर तार प्रत्येक स्पेसीज को गोटे गोटे अलग अलग ना दी आइडेंटिफिकेशन इन ऑर्डर टू फैसिलिटेट द स्टडी नंबर ऑफ साइंटिस्ट हैव एस्टाब्लिश्ड प्रोसीजर्स टू असाइन a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. Scientists अच्छा फॉर प्लांट्स तो प्रत्येक जी नोन ऑर्गेनिज्म अच्छे से साइंटिस्ट मैंने किछिटा नेम देछन्ती आ प्रत्येक जो मैंने साइंटिस्ट मैंने जानछन से माने ना देछन जो माने जाना नहीं तांकर एपर्यंत ना दिया है अगर दिया हबो फॉर प्लांट्स scientist names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in international code for botanical nomenclature है तो प्लांट्स मानकर नेम को आम कह कि इंटरनेशनल कोड फॉर बॉटनिकल नोमेनक्लेचर द्वारा कौन प्लांट्स मानकर नेमिंग कर यू मे आस्क हाउ आर एनिमल्स नेम्ड एनिमल्स आर नेम्ड सेमती जूलॉजिकल नोमेनक्लेचर द्वारा द साइंटिफिक नेम्स एंश्योर दैट ईच ऑर्गेनिज्म हैज ओनली वन नेम डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ एनी ऑर्गेनिज्म शुड एनेबल द पीपल इन एनी पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड to arrive at the same name. तो जो कौन सी पार्ट को गले भी से ऑर्गेनिज्म ना सेया रहिबो they also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other organism. तो गोटे ऑर्गेनिज्म पे से गोटे निर्दिष्ट स्पेसिफिक ना दिया जाइए बायोलॉजिस्ट द्वारा biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, that is generic name and specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature has two parts, that is one generic part and one specific part. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found inconvenient. Let us example. Mango is understood by the way of providing scientific name better. The scientific name of the scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus, while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. Rule 1 is biological names are generally in Latin or written in Latin italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The biological names are Latin, so they are of Latin origin, so they should be written in Latin. The first word in the biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes a specific epithet. The first one is represents the genus name, and the second word represents a specific epithet. Both the words, when handwritten, they should be underlined separately or they should be written in italics to identify their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. The genus name should be starts from capital letter and the specific name should starts from small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the. If we want to describe the author's name, then it should be written after the specific epithet. This represents the name of the author that named this name, that had named this name. This is it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms. It is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is called classification. The classification is the process by which it indicates us that this species was described by Linnaeus. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs or cats or insects. The moments we use in any of these terms, we associated certain characters with the organisms in that group. There are some similar characters according to similar characters, similar and observable characters. Certain organisms are classified into one group or one category. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of will see dogs. Now, if we were to think Alsatians, we know that we were talking about what we were talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture of our mind will be of wheat plants, not the rice plant. Now, when now if you think of Alsatians, we know that we are talking about what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hairs, that are the features of mammals. If we try to talk about wheat picture, the picture that will come in, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture that will come of that will come in our mind is of wheat plants. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheats, rice, plants, animals are convenient categories we use to study organisms. Thus, the scientific name of these organisms categories is called taxa. The categories of these scientific organisms is called taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate category at different levels. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are also called taxa. The categories that were found in the classification system. These categories are called. The categories of the scientific groups are called taxa. Here you must recognize that the taxa can indicate categories at different levels. Plants also form a taxa. Therefore, but you know that dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, dogs represent taxa at different levels. All the organisms that we found are identified are referred to the specific groups or organisms that we call taxa. But taxa, the level of taxa are vary. The mammals are also called a taxa. Animals are also called a taxa. And dogs and cats are also called taxa, but varying level, varying degree. Hence, based on characteristic of living organism, can classified into different taxa. The process of classification is called taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell development, process and ecological information of organism are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, the characterization, identification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. The taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In the early days, human beings needed to find for their basic need for food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. तो आम कौन देखिए ना एक्सटर्नल इंटरनल स्ट्रक्चर along with structure of cell development and the process of ecological information of organism are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. तो आम देखा कौन ना यही सब ना कौन ना किसी गुड़े सिमिलर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स दैट इज एक्सटर्नल इंटरनल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ सेल development process and ecological information of organism. They are the basis for classification system. The human beings were seen long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. The branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication, and the scope of the Dharmakaya, hence human beings are. The word systematic is derived from Latin word systema naturae, which means the systematic arrangement of organisms. The Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The human beings since long not only interested in knowing more and about different kinds of organisms and their diversity, but also relationship among them. The branch of study is referred to as the systematics. The word systematic is derived from Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. The systema naturae as the Linnaeus gave the name, naming a biological names are given by Linnaeus. The Linnaeus wrote a specific book called Systema Naturae, in which he has described all these organisms and their biological names. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. The systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between organisms. The Linnaeus system further modified and in which the identification, nomenclature, and classification also included in this category, and various other observable characters. And taxonomic categories. Classification is not a single step process. Then next we see the taxonomic categories. The classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Involves hierarchy of steps. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category, and all the category together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as the unit of classification. Each category is referred to as the classification unit, and this is called represents a rank, and it can be called as taxon. Taxon is the singular form of taxa. Taxonomic category and their hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insect represents a group of organisms sharing common features like 3 pairs of joint legs. It means insects are recognizable concrete objects which can be classified and thus given a rank or category. Can you name the other name such groups of organisms? Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon in fact represent a unit of classification. The taxonomic groups or categories are distinct biological entities and are not merely morphological aggregates. These categories are biological entities based on identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. These are not morphological. These are not morphological characters that we use to classify the organism. The taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum, division, class, order, family, genus, and all, and species. Now, all the taxonomic studies lead to the development of these all kinds of categories called as the taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common characters such as kingdom, phylum. All the organisms should, including those in plants and animals, have species as the lower categories. Now, the question you may ask: how to place an organism in various categories? All the organisms, including those in plants and animals, have species as the lowest categories. Now the question arises how to place an organism in various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of all individuals or groups of organisms. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organism as well as of other kinds. So by the study of these taxonomic categories, we can identify and place the organism in a specific kingdom or in a specific division and specify their other categories and can name them. And taxonomic study is considered as a group of individual organisms with different fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum nigrum, Panthera leo. All the three names indica tuberosum leo represent specific epithets, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum, Panthera are genera represents another higher level of taxonomic category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having morphological similarity. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called Panthera tigris. Solanum includes species like Nigrum and Melongena. Human beings belonging to the specific species called Homo sapiens, which is grouped in the genus Homo. The scientist's name thus for human beings is written as Homo sapiens. In Panthera tigris and Panthera leo, when we call the Panthera tigris and Panthera leo, the name we talk about the tiger or the lion. The tiger and the lion are similar according to their habitat and their morphology, but they are in different genera. But they are in the same genus, but their species are different. So they are different specific epithet, that is the tiger is called tigris and the lion is called leo. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to the species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregation of close related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belonging to same genus, that is Solanum, that is lion, leopard, and the potato and brinjal have two scientific names, that is a different scientific name, that is Solanum melongena, Solanum nigrum, but according to their certain identifiable characters, related species has characters